Hello folks, and welcome back to True Stories with me, Sherry Wiens. I hope you guys are having a safe and happy week, and today's story is going to be an update on the Ruzic family's interview with Dr. Phil. It was absolutely heartbreaking to watch and hear some of the details that the family has had to go through in this process, learning of the details from the mistress, Nicole Kessinger, her searches on her daughter in 2017, sort of prove in a sense that this woman was sort of casing out Chris Watts to be that perfect woman for him. Her insinuating thoughts towards him that she wanted to have a relationship fresh and new, and she wanted to build her own family, I believe is what planted this in Chris Watts's mind. I believe that he had a certain level of, premeditation and that he had planned some of this. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear that on August 13th, in the middle of the night, Sandy woke up to what she describes as a spear going through her forehead and her daughter's voice being said, Shan'Ann, and her knowing in the bottom of her stomach and heart that something was wrong and something had happened to her daughter. I can tell you guys, in my own experience, nothing as serious as this. I have felt over the years problems in my own body that I relate to problems that were happening with my daughter, my children, that aren't with me. And I honestly feel like this was her message, from Shanann and Bella and CeCe from the other side of life, and letting her know that something was wrong and they were leaving this world. Absolutely heartbreaking. There's nothing like a mother's connection to the children that she's birthed and carried in her womb and grown a connection with. It's heartbreaking to hear that the family is still dealing with evil people around the world that are sending them threatening messages and threatening to kill them, and absolutely devastating that they have to go through not only the loss of his only sister, Frankie Jr.'s only sister, and their only daughter, after having them so heinously and coldly taken out of this world. They have to deal with this world coming at them in some way. I think is shame on the people who are doing that. That's absolutely disgusting that there are people out there who find comfort and solace in creating havoc in someone else's life after such a tragedy. Like, it angers me to know that these people have to go through that on top of what they've already been through, and they shouldn't have to. I love that Sandy has a mission to hug like every person and woman out there that's missing a child and, wanting to connect using Dr. Phil's platform with all kinds of people who are in need of comfort in similar situations. I think it's honorable of them to take this opportunity and do good with it despite all the pain that's coming from it as well. In the interview, Sandy describes her encounters with Bella and CeCe in, what she describes as the afterworld effect, and that they have come to let her know that they're okay. One of the cutest details that I heard from Sandy was the fact that Bella said that she could go to Disneyland anytime she wants now. I think that's really, really, really sweet. And I honestly know that they're in a good place now. And I'm hoping that by sharing all of this, we can all come to a better place, knowing that they're happy, knowing and hearing from the people who are closest to them that they have a space that they're happy in with God, and that they're okay, is comforting in a sense to me, but heartbreaking to see. It was also interesting to hear Frankie Senior say that had they have had some of these details of his heinous actions prior to trial, they may have decided to not go with life without parole, sorry, and that they may have decided to take up the death penalty against Chris Watts. However, Frankie Sr. was always for the death penalty, is something that I learned. And I didn't know that. I thought that the entire family was more for the life without parole in order to, you know, have him sit there and really, you know, feel the repercussions of his actions and have a lot of time to think about it. But now knowing that, you know, the way that he snuffed out their lives and made Bella not only possibly witness her mother being murdered, but also her sister being murdered. It is quite possible that Bella woke up and saw her father, you know, strangling her mother and had no idea what was going on and had asked, you know, what's wrong with mommy? And Chris Watts proceeded to just tell her she's sick and we're going to take her to the hospital. Now, we all know that that's not true, and he proceeded to put them all into the vehicle and, you know, drive for 45 minutes to the service site before he so coldly ended their lives. Bella had to witness all of that, which is just absolutely heartbreaking to hear. Another detail that seemed to find comfort for Sandy, which was really, really kind of them, was that they donated at least 90% of the home. There was a few articles that the Watts family wanted of Chris's before, you know, they sort of reneged all rights and responsibilities against anything in the house. And those items were Chris Watts's trophies from when he was younger, his jerseys, and a toolbox. And Sandy and Frankie Sr. and Frankie Jr. just proceeded to tell them to go ahead and, you know, take those items. And they then proceeded to donate 90% of the house to various charities. Now, the charities that they've chosen to support are St. Jude's Law, Missing and Exploited Children, and the Lupus Foundation. What was ultimately the worst part to hear about Sandy and Frankie's experience in the aftermath of all of this was the fact that the girls could not be cremated due to the crude oil that they were placed into, which Sandy quite clearly mentions that they didn't even have a chance to go cold. Their bodies were still warm when they were placed into that crude oil. And, you know, that's just disturbing on so many levels. But after coming out of the crude oil and being in it for, you know, days, they weren't able to cremate them, or the crude oil would have exploded and you know, destroyed a building along with cremating them. So they had to be specially buried in their casket with a special seal around the casket so that none of the gases could emanate and affect the earth and the surrounding area where they've been buried. Not only that, but they also had to get signed permission from the Watts family in order to bury the three of them together, due to the rights that Chris Watts and his family had as being the you know, the opposite grandparents, the other side of the family. And I'm thankful that they did not, you know, buck any of the decisions that came from the Ruzic family for Shanann, Bella, and Celeste and Niko. But it was also really heartbreaking to hear, and equally disturbing, that the Watts family and other people seem to be stating that the baby wasn't Chris Watts's, and Sandy literally had to take the proper procedures in order to, you know, sign over rights in order to test baby Niko and, you know, match the DNA, and it was proven that the baby boy was Chris Watts's. Now, you know, many people are wondering how much involvement Nicole Kessinger had in all of this, and had she not have come around, would this have even happened? And I'd love to know your thoughts, folks. Please fill that into the comments section and tell me what you think. If Nicole Kessinger had never have come into Chris Watts' life, do you think he would have killed his family? I'm leaning towards probably not, but I would definitely be open to hearing both, you know, pros and cons of this thought, and if you agree or disagree. we can definitely debate and talk about that together here. As hard as this update was to bring to you, I personally find comfort in hearing about Sandy Ruzic's encounters with her daughter and her granddaughter, and hearing that they are okay and they've sent her a message telling her exactly that. For anybody who's ever lost anybody around the world, we can all relate to having a visit in the afterworld life from the person that we loved. And that memory and encounter tends to bring comfort as much as it's heartbreaking to let go. I find that it's a godly action that he sends, you know, the loved one to us in order to say goodbye. And it's absolutely devastating and heartbreaking to hear that Sandy and Frankie Jr. did not even have a chance to say goodbye, that the burial couldn't be done properly in order for them to find that kind of closure and comfort in a sense. They were left with just such an open end to everything. They could not find or take the time to say goodbye because of how Chris so heinously took them all away from them so quickly. If you folks enjoyed this update, I know that it's sad. You can throw up a like as a form of support, and you know, I appreciate your support. So please stay safe out there, and I hope that the Ruzic family finds comfort in the people who are supporting them from around the world. And, you know, let's pool together for them. They need the support. And I thank you guys for watching. So stay safe out there. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe for more and new information about various cases that I follow. Thank you for your support, your time, and, you know, your view. I love you guys. We'll see you again soon for another true story with me, Sherry Wiens. Bye for now.